Hey guys, it's Anna. I just wanted to do a little video for you guys about improving your efficiency of rowing and your technique. I spent like a good over a year of my life just like eating, sleeping, breathing, only rowing, and I picked up a lot. So it's just an opportunity to share whatever pearls of wisdom that I have with you guys, and hopefully it teaches you a thing or two to improve your rowing technique.
So to get strapped in, you're going to put your foot in the foot stretcher, and you want your toes to be at the top of these ridges here. So you can adjust the foot stretcher up or down depending on your shoe size. And once you have that in place, you can slip your foot back in, double check, and then pull the strap tight. It should be over the widest part of your foot. You just want it to be tight enough that you won't be rocking back and forth when you're rowing. The next thing I want to talk about is the flywheel and the damper setting on here. So I know it's a really unpopular opinion, but I do not believe there's any valid reason to set your damper to 10. Rowers usually set it between 3 and 5 because it mimics water. That's like the Olympic standard. But I understand in CrossFit there's a need to go a little bit higher. I would say anywhere between 3 to 7 is an ideal setting for your damper.
So a couple examples of like why that matters and like what you're doing when you change the damper setting. So let's say that you and I are both on treadmills next to each other. We're both running a mile and we're both running it at the exact same pace. It would be like me kicking up the incline all the way. We're still running the same distance. We're still running at the same speed. I've just made mine exponentially harder for really no reason. You can also think about, we compare this to rowing to a deadlift because it's similar movement pattern. It would be like doing really heavy deadlifts for an extended period of time versus lighter deadlifts for an extended period of time. You're going to wear yourself out and jeopardize your form when you're doing that like heavier, higher damper as opposed to doing it lighter.
The start of the rowing motion is called the catch, so when you're right here. And what you want to make sure when you are at the catch is that your shins are nice and vertical and upright. You also want to have your seat about 6 to 8 inches from your heels. And then you want to make sure that your foot is pretty flat against the foot stretcher. You can have a little bit of a heel lift, but you want to make sure that it's not too much. This engages your posterior chain better. You can think about moving a really heavy piece of furniture with your feet if you're like seated. You want most of your foot to be on that piece of furniture, not like up on your tiptoes. You just get more force with that foot. The other thing you really want to double check is that your spine is nice and long. You should never be rounding your back. You want to make sure that you're nice and upright. So shins vertical, 6 to 8 inches from your heels for your seat, and then a nice tall back. The movement of rowing in and of itself can be broken down into 3 big sections. The first one is going to be just our legs and our glutes. It's the biggest muscle group that we're utilizing during rowing. So to get started, just start with your leg drive. So you're going to come into your catch position and then just drive back with your legs. You can do this a few times to get comfortable. Don't move your body, don't move your arms, just drive with those legs. The next major muscle group that we're going to incorporate is going to be our trunk. So our core and our back, you're going to start at 12 o'clock on a clock face and just hip hinge back to 1 o'clock. There's no reason to go further than that 1 o'clock position. So just start 12, switch back to 1. Last is going to be bringing our arms in underneath our chest, right at your bra line or right underneath your chest. If you pull up to your neck, you just have chicken wings. But think about elbowing somebody behind you. You want to use a lot of force, and you've got a lot of force if you bring your handlebar right in underneath your chest. So this is the finished position. When we go back to the catch, we're just going to reverse arms first, then body hinge back to 12 o'clock, and then bend those knees. So we'll drive back, legs, body, arms, and then reverse it, arms, body, legs, legs, body, arms, arms, body, legs. So it's totally fine to repeat legs, body, arms, arms, body, legs to yourself as you're rowing. I definitely do that all the time just to make sure that I have my proper form in my head. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to smooth this out a little bit. So you're not going to chunk it into 3 blocks. You're going to make it smooth. So it's legs, body, arms, body, legs. So legs, body, arms, body, legs. Just smooth it out and repeat that in your head as you go. Another important thing to think about when rowing is your work to recovery ratio. So you should be driving back on a 1 count and recovering on a 2 to 3 count. So what this looks like is drive, recover, 2, 3, drive, recover, 2, 3, drive. You can also speed this up and do it on a 2 count recovery. So that'll look like drive, recover, recover, drive, recover, recover. This is important when you're rowing a longer distance like a 2K. Hint, hint, we will be rowing a 2K by the end of the 4 weeks. This is going to help you with that endurance.
So let's talk about a couple common rowing mistakes. One is going to be over compressing or overdoing your movement. So what people think is that they need to have the biggest stroke possible as far forward as they can get to move as far back to generate the most meters. But what that actually does is it loses all of the tension that you want to create in this movement. So over compressing would be if you're rounding your shoulders forward and your back forward like this to kind of reach really far forward. What you're doing is you're taking all of the tension out of your biggest muscle group, your hamstrings, your glutes, and you're putting it all into your back, which is not ideal. So that's where that important 6 to 8 inches vertical shins, keeping your back upright, really comes into play. You want to think about if you're, we talk about this like a deadlift a lot. You would come into your deadlift and you would load your posterior chain, create tension. You would not come into your deadlift and try and get your butt as close to your heels as possible to kind of rip the barbell off the floor. Same philosophy here. You don't need to be as far in to generate the most power. You need to create tension in order to force back in order to drive back with force. Another really common rowing mistake is to overextend yourself at the finish. So coming here and taking this handlebar and kind of throwing it up towards your neck or leaning really far back. Again, you want to keep tension, right? So you're using these trunk muscles, your core and your back, and just coming to that 1 o'clock position and driving those elbows back as opposed to coming really far. So another really common mistake is if you are somebody who scoops the handlebar over your knees when you come back to the catch. What that means is you're bending your knees too early. So on your reverse on the way into the catch, I would make sure you're saying arms, body, legs. Because if you bend your knees too soon, before you release your arms, you're gonna have to like scoop it over your knees. Again, going back to a deadlift, you would never scoop the barbell around your knees on the way back to the floor. It's really dangerous to do that. It just kind of loses your efficiency in this movement.
Thank you for watching.